Hello friends, this is Carrie and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Today we have two stories out of the Entitled People subreddit. Let's begin. Our first post is by Wafer 2016. Gym teacher sends toddler to the hospital, chaos ensues. This story takes place in the deep dark years of the 1970s. Neil Diamond was singing about Sweet Caroline, hippies were congregating in San Francisco, and I was 4 years old. When I was a teeny wee person, my family lived in Toronto, and the school system started kids in pre-kindergarten as young as 3 years old. Me, being the right age, my parents dutifully enrolled me in school, and I happily toddled off each morning holding the hands of my older brothers. The school year progressed, and I loved going every day. Hey, crafts, naps, snacks, what's not to like? Fast forward to June, and our family moved to a new province where kids didn't start school until they were 5, or going to be 5 before October 1st. This presented a bit of a conundrum for my parents. I had already been in school for a year. The town that we moved to had no preschool or day school at the time, so the school system decided to make an exception and allow me to attend the local elementary school in the kindergarten classroom. Boring stuff out of the way now, ha ha. I was excited about going to school on a big yellow school bus, made friends quickly, and settled into the classroom like the 4-year-old pro that I was. Everything was going great until my first gym class. Pre-K classes in Toronto didn't attend school gym. Instead, they played games in their own classroom or on the playground. I had never before been to a regular school gym nor seen any of the equipment. I happily lined up with the other short nose pickers and skipped down the hall in my Buster Browns through the doors of the gymnasium to behold, dun dun dun, the parallel bars. They were tall, they were shiny, they kinda looked like weird monkey bars. I, being 4, went charging over, jumped up, and started swinging on the lowest bar. Now I'm gonna mention here, the teacher was a few bricks shy of a load. What she lacked in intelligence, she more than made up in inventive ways to lie her way out of a situation, and she had made 2 crucial mistakes with our class of tiny peeps. The bars had no safety mats under them. They weren't supposed to be there at all, as they were deemed too dangerous for the smallest kids. So there I am, the smallest of the small, the little one with vision problems and coordination issues, who was prone to walk into walls, running over and jumping up on these bars. I promptly fell off, totally faceplant, into the solid steel support beams on the bottom. The pain and the blood were immediate and intense. I was screaming, about 20 other little ones were screaming, and the teacher, apparently, was screaming. Fortunately for me, or not so much, I passed out and woke up on a bed in the hospital with a doctor trying to stitch my chin back together. The teacher, idiot that she was, stood beside my bed, howling about how it was all my fault because I was a very bad little girl, and my daddy was going to beat me when I got home because I was such a very, very bad little girl. This is what I gleaned from family lore, as I don't remember much of it myself. Mid-howl, my parents walked in to behold me laying on the bed covered in blood and a strange adult screaming like a deranged banshee. It was at this point I passed out again. Several days later, I was back at school, my tiny face swathed in bandages, sitting beside my best buddy, when the principal came into the room and told us that Miss Blah would no longer be our gym teacher and was gone forever from our school. It was several years later that my older siblings explained to me that she had been fired immediately. So that's my tale of how a 3-foot-tall, 4-year-old managed to get her gym teacher fired. Too long, didn't read. Gym teacher was an idiot, I fell down, broke my face, and she was fired. If you've been watching until here and are enjoying my content, please put some heart emojis in the comment section down below. Our final story is by HauntChick13. Entitled parents try to control me, even though I don't live at home and I'm over 18. Okay, so this is going to be a long story. It takes place over about 3 years. I cut a lot of points to try and make it shorter. I also know that this probably would fit better in r/entitled parents, but I don't have enough comment karma to post there. Backstory. I grew up in a very religious household. I have since left the church and now consider it to be a cult. I was basically brainwashed as a kid and teen, where if something went wrong, you call the church authorities for help, not the police. This is important so you know why I didn't call the police. Cast: M. me, EM, entitled mom, ED, entitled dad, S, friend 1, T, best friend forever, RIP, I miss you, J, best friend. Now on to the story. When I turned 18, I wanted to go to college. My parents are not super rich, but we were well off, and my parents told me that they would help me pay for it. The rules were that I needed to have a full-time job, no working Sundays, I must go to church, and hold a calling. Well, from a young age, I knew I didn't believe in the church, and one of the main reasons I wanted to go to college was so that I could figure out on my own what I believed. This included that I wanted to stop going to church. But I agreed and figured my parents wouldn't find out. Well, the day to move out arrives and I'm so excited. I packed up my little car and my parents followed me down to my apartment to help me unpack. I chose a school that was about an hour away from home, thinking that my parents wouldn't bug me as much. I moved all my stuff in, and as I was saying goodbye to my parents, my mom hung a sign up in my bedroom that was more rules. 1. Must maintain a 3.5 GPA. This was doable since I was required to have a 3.9 GPA in high school. They would prefer a 4.0, but I got A's and B's in a class, and my parents weren't too happy, but bit their tongues. 2. Must attend all church meetings on Sundays. 3. Must attend all church activities during the week. 4. No hanging out with friends on weekdays. 5. Must be home by 10 p.m. weekdays and 11 p.m. on weeknights. They added a picture of Jesus right above the rules, implying that God is watching. I just smiled and said goodbye, and then tore down the rules and the picture when they left. Later that day, I got to know my roommates. 2 of them were the same religion as me and my parents. I'm not anymore. And the other wasn't. The other roommate and I got along really well. As school started, I did get a full-time job and was going to school full-time. After work, I would hang out with my friends and go get food, go skating, hiking, etc. I was really enjoying life. I occasionally went to church when my roommates begged me to go and would go to fun church activities like barbecues, but I never did a whole lot with the church. I did not hold a calling or ever go to temple. I never thought my parents would find out. S was my best friend in high school. Since me moving out, we didn't see each other as much. I then met T and J, and we became best friends. We would hang out every day. T and J were dating, so I was always the third wheel, but we had a lot of fun. My job offered me a raise, but the only thing was I had to work Sundays. I was fine with that. Sundays were slow, and there was like 3 people there, and we would just watch movies all day. That's when I stopped going to church. And this was around the time that the crap hit the fan. Well, S didn't approve of my new besties, since J had some trouble with the law with drugs, but was clean when he was hanging out. S called my parents, and I guess tipped them off. This is what I got from some other friends. S never told me she did this. My parents called the ward of the church and asked the leader if I had a calling and was going to church. The leader said he had never heard of me. Crap. My parents went to my apartment, but I wasn't home. I was at Jay's grandparents' house. We had a nice barbecue. We were playing badminton in the front yard while being tackled by kittens. I was having fun. My mom looked up where Jay lived and drove to his grandparents' house, where she saw me on a school night having fun. She then got out of the car, ran up to me, grabbed my arm so hard it really hurt. T and J didn't know what was going on. My mom then started yelling and screaming that I was breaking the rules and need to go home right now. When T grabbed my other arm and yanked me away, my mother then directed her anger onto T, yelling that she was a disgrace to her family and she was the reason that her mom is dead. T's mom died when she was in junior high school to cancer. My mom researched everything she could use against my friends. Now T is livid and she's swearing at my mom, and they're just having a yelling match, while I'm just trying to get my mom to leave. In the craziness, Jay went to grab his grandpa, who is a Vietnam vet, a very big, scary guy. I never heard him talk and was over all the time. Well, Grandpa comes out with a gun and yells at my mom to get the F off his property or he's calling the cops. My mom hightails out of there and left me behind. I knew I was in big trouble though. The next day, I was walking home from school, I unlocked my apartment, and my mom was in the living room with boxes. She packed my entire room. We yelled and screamed at each other, and I told her I didn't believe in the church anymore and wasn't doing anything wrong. That was the wrong answer. She got me into the car and drove me home. The next day, my parents made me drop out of school and sold my car. I managed to convince them to drive me to my job that was an hour away for about 2 weeks until they decided not to. So on my last day of work, I went across the street and bought a car. I kept my job since I now had a car. My parents made me continue going to church, but I was shamed from activities because I was a sinful person. Sorry, I'm trying not to give too much information about the religion. I later sat down with my parents and said, look, I'm 19, almost 20. I'm legally an adult. If you want, I'll still go to church with you, but I need to be out with my friends. Either respect me or I'm going to leave and never come back. They agreed. We set up rules that I felt were responsible. I would still go to church on Sundays and would work on cleansing myself of sin and would still be able to hang out with my friends and spend the night as long as I told my parents. Life started to get better. I got a job an hour away in the city. I worked at a haunted house. And I would occasionally spend the night at a friend's house after work, since the haunted house would get out super late. My parents never complained. Well, one night I went over to a friend's house after work. We turned on a movie and we fell asleep. I told my mom where I was and they were fine with it. We woke up late the next day and I decided to just go and stay away from home, then go to work, and I would go home that night. I told my parents and they said it was fine. I guess I should tell you now I totaled my car and didn't have a car, so I couldn't come home unless my friend drove me. Anyway, I went to work, got home around 3 a.m. I was exhausted from running around all night. I still had stage makeup on. All I wanted was a hot shower and to go to bed. When I opened the garage door, the first thing I noticed was my door was gone. My mom is on the couch with all my stuff on the couch. I knew what was going on. I was livid. I walked into the room and both the closet and the bathroom door were gone. My bed was also gone. My clothes are in a pile and I immediately started yelling at my parents. My parents both agreed that I was still living in sin and I needed to change. They gave me stipulation: either stay at home, quit my job, and never talk to my friends, and sleep upstairs in my parents' room. They would monitor all my text, emails, and Facebook. Or I could leave. So without even thinking, I grabbed a bag, threw my clothes in, and walked out. That was my first time being homeless, but at least I was away from my crazy parents. I called S because she was the closest friend. She drove me to a hotel for the night, and then drove me back home the next day and helped me grab more of my stuff. My parents were changing the locks and told me I couldn't come in since I wasn't family anymore. That hurt. Anyway, I eventually moved back home after about a month. My parents begged me to come home. I told them I wasn't ever going to church again after the way I was treated by them. They agreed and eventually kicked me out because I'm sinful. By that time though, I had just got my first boyfriend and I just moved in with him. We eventually got married, which was another mess with my parents, but I won't go into it now. Sorry this was so long. I cut a lot of details out, like how my parents forced me into therapy. When I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, my parents pulled me out because anxiety and depression are made up. Too long, didn't read. Parents make me move home and try and force me back into a church after I stopped going. I was over 18. That's all the stories I have for today. Links to the original Reddit posts will be in the description box below. Please stop on by Reddit to show the OP some love and an upvote. If you enjoy my content, please comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I've uploaded new videos. Thank you for watching and have a great day.